You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron, live with Ethan Haristodoulou.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Greeks Gridiron. I am Ethan Haristodoulou, and with just 1 day until NFL kickoff, we have ourselves one of my favorite things to do every single season as it rolls through. We're discussing our 32-team power ranking. I'm ranking every single team from the bottom to the top all the way through, giving some reasoning as to why I have the teams where they are. It's always a hotly contested list. No matter where you go, nobody seems to completely agree. So I want you to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and most importantly, as I'm going through these power rankings, comment down below. What am I getting right? What am I getting wrong? I love to hear from you guys, and I love the conversation. So without further ado, my week 1 power rankings 1 day before the kickoff between the Bills and the Rams to get the 2022 NFL season rolling. Starting with number 32 here, I'm kicking off the bottom of the list with the Chicago Bears. There is a lot to look at in terms of things that need to be dealt with and handled going forward with a new regime in Chicago. I will say this, though. I'm a Justin Fields guy. I like what he brings to the table. I'm excited about his athleticism. I'm excited for him to be in a new system under a new head coach in Matt Eberflus. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the Bears go. But right now, it's an uphill climb for Chicago, starting at the bottom. Coming in at number 31, we're looking at the New York Giants, another team that has a new regime coming in and, some really good talent, but for whatever reason has just not been able to put it together. Offensive line is still a bit of a question mark for me there, and a wide receiver corps that on paper should be very talented, but did not really deliver last year, and a quarterback in Daniel Jones who the jury's still out on what he is, but this is his last chance essentially with this new coaching staff and regime that's there in New York. Looking forward to seeing what happens with them, but right now, sitting at number 31 for me. Up next, at the number 30 spot, we're looking at another, NFC East team in the Washington Commanders, bringing in Carson Wentz. I will say this team has a really good defense, and I wanted to put them a little bit higher here, but maybe it's just the hurt Indianapolis Colt fan in me that can't move past having Carson Wentz as our quarterback last year. And do I think he's an upgrade over Taylor Heineke? Probably. Do I think he's going to be the savior? Probably not. We'll have to see. I will say I'm excited for Jahan Dotson. And again, that defense, the defensive front was so good, but marred with injury last year. Once Chase Young returns, I'm looking forward to really seeing what this team turns into, especially on the defensive side of the football. But for right now, at number 30 is where they stand. At number 29, we're looking at the Atlanta Falcons, another team that is kind of going through the motions here, moving on from Matt Ryan. You have, obviously, Marcus Mariota as QB1, Desmond Ridder waiting in the wings, where they brought in London Drake as well, Drake London. So there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of uncertainty in some new positions at the number 1 spot of like wide receiver, at quarterback. A lot to see there, and a defense that was not very good last year, hoping to look a little bit better this year. But again, another one of those teams where I'm coming away with a lot more questions than I am answers when I look at them. At number 28, I'm looking at the Houston Texans, a team that has Davis Mills, who is trending in the right direction, who I've been really high on for a while now, and I'm excited to see how he pans out in year number 2. Hopefully, with Brandon Cooks and a reestablished running game, we see some more from this Texans offense. The defense was actually not terrible last year, so maybe some improvements there as well, and they can start to work their way up the boards if things go right and they win a few games here and there that might shock a few people. But the Texans at 28 feels pretty good to me. Then at number 27, we are looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars being headed by Doug Peterson now. So I expect this team to rise in this list, but I'm going to start them off here at number 27. The Jaguars are a sleeper team to me. I think they're a team, I'm not necessarily saying playoff team, but a team that might win more games than some people expect. You have really good leadership there. Peterson is a Super Bowl winning head coach, and they're building something over there in Jacksonville. They went and got a lot of pieces here, and while they obviously aren't going to hit on every single one, I like the infusion of talent in what they already did have. You're getting Travis Etienne back after missing him all last season. James Robinson should be ready to go early within the season, and maybe as soon as week 1 gets a decent load, we'll see what happens with him. But I like Jacksonville. I think they're a sleeper team, and I do expect them to rise on the boards this year. I think they might shock a few people. Looking at number 26, I'm looking at the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, the loss of Russell Wilson, the loss of Bobby Wagner, the leaders of the Super Bowl winning team have officially gone, and it's essentially a new era aside from Pete Carroll over there in Seattle. We'll have to see how things fare over there at the quarterback spot. Obviously, Geno Smith is the starter. I kind of thought Drew Lock was going to nab the spot, but, missing time because of COVID, and then, Geno Smith got the start every single week of the preseason. It makes sense to roll with Smith, so we'll see how he fares going through the season, but I was kind of expecting Drew Lock to be the guy who ended up getting quarterback one. I was a little surprised with that. The defense is, again, another question mark. The pass defense was not really good last year. Hopefully an improved pass rush can help that out this year, but a lot to see from Seattle. Another one of those unknown teams where I'm going to really have to see what Seattle does this year to really know what they're going to be. Coming in next, the next group of 8, we start at number 25, and we're looking at the Detroit Lions. This is a team that, again, might shock a few people with some of the games they win, but a team that lost 6 games last year by 1 possession, and a few of those games were within 3. A team that almost knocked off the Ravens when they were still at a pretty strong force, and, I'm here for it. I like Dan Campbell. He is very off the wall, balls out crazy. He will beat people's ass like he says, and I'm here for it. I love the character. I love what the fire he brings to the team, and it sounds like players love to play for Dan Campbell. So we'll see what the Lions are this year. I really hope they trend in a good direction. I don't want to see them regress, and I don't really think they're going to regress. I think they're building something there. I don't know what it is, but this is the first time in a long time that I've felt somewhat positive about what Detroit is doing over there with the Lions. Coming in at number 23, they brought in Baker Mayfield. They had what I considered a very good defense last year, one that I called numerous times a championship-level defense. I don't know if they're still quite that defense. We'll see if they can return to form this year. But bringing in Baker Mayfield to be your quarterback is a better situation than having Sam Darnold as quarterback one, or even P.J. Walker, who managed to get some playing time in last year. I'm excited about the Panthers. This is another team that I could see end up sliding up on the board. But as of right now, it is a new quarterback within a new system. We'll have to see how things go. I don't really like Matt Rule as head coach over there, so take that for what you will. I'm a little bit surprised he's still head coach. We'll see what happens going through the season, but I kind of feel like the offensive coordinator Brady last year kind of got scapegoated for some of the issues, and it wasn't really his fault. Looking at number 22, I'm focusing in on the Cleveland Browns, a team that will really kind of come down to just quarterback play this year. I like them on paper in some instances, but even on paper, there are some flaws here and there that I look at. I do like their defensive front. I think they should be an effective team when it comes to rushing the passer. But with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, I'm a Colts fan, so I know what Jacoby Brissett can bring to the table on the offense as a QB. I don't think he's going to light the world on fire. I think he can be a really serviceable guy. There are some pretty good weapons over there surrounding him, and if I'm being honest with myself and with everyone here, probably better weapons than what the Colts had around him when he was over there in Indianapolis. So maybe things look a little bit better for him while he's there. Maybe he can guide the ship a little bit easier. We'll see. But I like the Browns at number 22. And, when Deshaun Watson comes back, maybe that changes a little bit and maybe they start to climb up the ranks. But right now, 22 feels right. At number 21, and I'm probably going to catch some flack for this one if you're a Vikings fan, but Minnesota. I'm setting them at 21 for right now. I love the talent on the roster. Do not get me wrong. I'm a Kirk Cousins guy. I pegged him as a legit QB1 way back when he got drafted, way before I was doing this YouTube thing and whatnot. I remember him and RG3 coming at the same time, and I was a believer in what Kirk Cousins brought to the league and the tools he came into the league with. Now, I like Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, like the whole offense, Dalvin Cook. I'm here for it. Offensive line's even getting better too. I'm here for the offense. It is that defense that has been not good the last 2 seasons. I got roasted last year by Vikings fans over not rating the Vikings highly enough because of how good their defense was going to turn around this year. Well, I need to see the proof in the pudding. I'm going to stick the Vikings at 21 right now. The offense is, the sky's the limit with that when they're healthy. The defense, it can be one of the absolute worst in the league. For the number 20 spot, I'm looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, another team that's really going to come down to quarterback play because a defense I strongly believe in resides in Pittsburgh, and I have no doubts about their defense. I really don't. And they've made some good additions and like subtractions, additions going back and forth between, players here and there. But the Steelers defense is rock solid, as it always is. I feel like that's a defense I can always count on to be within a top 10 unit. And if they're not top 10, they're like 11 or 12 at worst. They're always within, being a dominant unit. The offensive side of the ball, I like the potential. Najee Harris looked really good to me despite his, 4 yards a carry, 3.9, whatever the exact number was, and people try to hate on him for that, but he had like 1,700 yards collectively last year from scrimmage. Najee Harris, awesome running back. The offensive line is a big question mark there. Quarterback play, we'll see what Mitch Trubisky does. I said this when Trubisky went to Pittsburgh. The Steelers were the absolute best case scenario for Trubisky to land at, so I'm excited to see how things turn out for him there. But if things go south, Kenny Pickett time. We'll see how Kenny Pickett does. He looked really good in the preseason. I kind of was hoping he'd get named QB1, but I'm not really surprised they went with the veteran in Mitch to start off the year. Looking at number 19, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins, another new regime team with a new head coach, new system to kind of work themselves around with. Obviously, the addition of Tyreek Hill is really fun, and the Dolphins have had a really good defense. Your skill positions on the offense are set. The defense, you have some really good corners. Byron Jones is hurt right now, though, so that is something to keep an eye on. The Dolphins are one of those teams where I just want to see it from them. It's not that I doubt what they can do in terms of with the talent that they have on the team and the actual roster. I'm curious to see how Mike McDaniel does as a head coach. He's looked pretty good in the preseason so far, but that is just preseason. Things don't matter until this week kicks off, so we'll see how it turns out. I like the Dolphins. I like that, the potential that they have. The Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle nonsense is going to be ridiculous, and don't forget Gesicki. He's a top 10 tight end. So there's a really good offensive unit there if Tua can really get things rolling this season. I'm excited to see where they go, but I'll sit them at 19 for now. At number 18, I'm looking at the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins missing some time here. I believe the number 6 weeks for his suspension there. And then they bring in Marquise Brown, who kind of mitigates that loss, at least for now, and should be an awesome 1-2 punch once Hopkins gets back and rolling here. But the animosity and the awkwardness of the whole Kyler Murray situation, I'm curious to see if that lingers at all. I don't really think it will, but it is something that is in the back of my mind when I think of the Arizona Cardinals. I'm also a little bit concerned about the defense and some of the losses they took there. Chandler Jones, and Cardinals fans, I'm sure you can agree with me, one of the most underrated pass rushers in the NFL within the last 6 or 7 years or so. It's because he's quiet and he's not flashy, but the guy was double-digit sack worthy every single season. At number 17 here, can't count. At number 17, we're looking at the New England Patriots. Yes, I do have them a couple spots ahead of the Miami Dolphins, but I do have them outside the top 16 teams, so they are in technically the bottom half. I was a little bit higher on the Patriots going into the preseason, but I don't want to let preseason sway my opinions too much because, especially with Bill Belichick, he does not really care about how teams are performing within the game. He's evaluating players nonstop during the preseason. That's his MO. That's kind of how he operates. He does things a little bit differently. So I'm trying to not let what I saw in the preseason worry me, but in the few stints of action we saw from the starters, a little bit underwhelming. There was positives that I pulled out, probably more positives than New England sports media did, and I live in New England, which is why I'm bringing that up, because I work within the New England sports media world, and there's a large cloud of negativity floating over New England right now, but I think there's a little bit more positive in the Patriots, especially in the offensive side of the ball, than people might realize. We'll just have to see if it can really come to fruition here with Matt Patricia calling plays as the offensive coordinator. I don't know if it will or not. That's I need to see it to believe it type thing, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the Patriots play out. Now, for the top half of the list, coming in at number 16, the Dallas Cowboys. I don't really think they got better this offseason, but I don't really think they got worse either. But if I had to pick one or the two, I think they may be a little bit worse, but not necessarily. This is probably one I'm going to catch a lot of flack for. The Cowboys, I just need to see the proof. They made it all the way to the divisional round last year and just, boom, one and done, lost to the 49ers. It is what it is, but ultimately, I don't know. I have a hard time buying into the Cowboys, and maybe it's, I don't know. I just have a hard time buying into them. It's a lot to get into, and I'm trying to be quick with these rankings here as I roll through because I don't want to spend too long with this video, but I just need to see it from the Cowboys. I need to see it from Zeke. I need to see what their wide receiver corps looks like with CeeDee Lamb as wide receiver 1 now that Amari Cooper's gone. There's just a lot of I need to see it from them. The offensive line is not quite what it used to be, so that'll be one of those things that, again, I need to see how that offensive line holds up. I am a little bit concerned. Even on the defensive side, there are some rising stars, don't get me wrong, but there are a few things here and there that I'm kind of like, all right, let's see how things pan out. Can Trayvon Diggs match what he did last year? Is Micah Parsons going to be as effective as he was last year? A lot of just let me see it again, I guess you could say. For the Titans at number 15, I like them here. I wanted them a little bit higher, and they probably will end up being higher because I will say this, I respect the absolute hell out of Mike Vrabel. I think he is one of the best coaches in the league, and he put on an absolute coaching clinic last year with the amount of injuries he dealt with and still dragging that Tennessee Titans team to a number 1 seed in the AFC. I have the utmost respect for Mike Vrabel, so let me get that out of the way. And again, I'm a Colts fan, but I think that, losing A.J. Brown, we'll see what Treylon Burks can do and how he mitigates that loss there. Derrick Henry's obviously coming back. The offensive line, will it continue to be the Mack truck that it has been for the last handful of years, paving out massive highways for Derrick Henry to run through? We'll see. The defensive side of the ball, losing Harold Landry really hurts. A lot of pressure is going to fall on Bud Dupree now, but I'm not as concerned with the defense as I am with the offense. Is Ryan Tannehill going to look like his final game in the playoffs last year, or is he going to be that super efficient, awesome quarterback that he's been for the last handful of years since coming to Tennessee? Because he has been one of the most efficient since he's made his way to the Titans. We'll see, but I like them at number 15 for right now. Coming in at number 14, I have the New Orleans Saints, and this is a team that I could see going one of two ways. Either Jameis Winston's back week 1 and they get rolling, and he continues to pick up from where he left off last year, which was a hot 5-2 start, smashing the Green Bay Packers in week number 1. The Saints are a team that I firmly believe make the playoffs if Jameis Winston is QB1 for them. I hate that he went down because it completely derailed a team that has a fantastic defense, a litany of skilled players, even more so going into this year than last year. There is so much to like about New Orleans. It sounds like their rookie offensive tackle Trevor Penning might be able to come back and play during the season, which did not really seem like a possibility when he first went down with an injury. I like the Saints. They are a dark horse team to be really, really good this year if everything goes their way. Looking at number 13, lucky number 13, I'm going to stick the Indianapolis Colts, the team that I root for. While I am excited to see Matt Ryan at the quarterback spot, and I'm pretty high on a few things as far as the offensive line is, I like the skill talent we have. It's not quite where I want it to be, but I'm fine with where it's at. I really believe in Jonathan Taylor. And the defense, one of the better units last year, and I think they continue to do so. I'm really excited about rookie safety Nick Cross. I am curious to see how things go. I did not really see a ton that I was super excited about in preseason from the ones offensively. And honestly, my biggest takeaways from the preseason with the Colts were, 1, I like the way Nick Cross looked, and 2, Sam Ehlinger looks a little bit better than he did last year, and that's kind of exciting. I would like him to pan out and continue to develop. That would be awesome if that was the case. But yeah, we'll see how Matt Ryan fares. I am excited. I think it's an upgrade over Carson Wentz. Do I think it pushes them into the playoffs this year? Potentially. I do have them ranked as the number 1 team so far as power rankings go for the AFC South. Moving in at number 12, and this one's probably going to get some contesting from, but there's a lot of new pieces in some important positions, so I got to see it to really believe it, but I do believe in the defense there, the Denver Broncos. This is a team that I think is really good overall. Defense, championship level last year. I cannot believe how good the defense was, despite how bad the offense was, putting them in positions to just constantly be on the field. I think the Broncos defense continues to be lights out. We'll see how Russell Wilson fares. We'll see how Nathaniel Hackett is as a head coach and leading this team and devising an offensive scheme that works with Russell Wilson. Could they end up being a top 5 team come season's end? Absolutely. This is a team that I think has so many new parts, though, on the offensive side of the ball, they could bottom out and miss the playoffs. And in a division like the AFC West, totally possible. You need everything to go your way if you want to make it out of that AFC West division this year. Coming in at number 11, hats off to Nick Sirianni and the Philadelphia Eagles. I will say, when the Eagles brought in Sirianni, he was Colts offensive coordinator before that, I was a little puzzled that they made him a head coach, but He brought the Eagles year one to the playoffs. Granted, they're coming out of the AFC East. It is what it is. They don't choose the division they play in. They made it out of the NFC East and got themselves at the number 7 playoff spot. They made some really good additions this offseason. I think the defense is going to be really good this year. On paper, this is one of the sexier teams in the league right now. You bring in A.J. Brown. You have a really good draft class with some rookies that should make your defense a lot more dynamic. There's a lot that I really like on paper about the Eagles. It's just a matter of, all right, you look good, you're build good. Let's see how you actually play. But I like what the Eagles are looking like so far. Coming in at number 10, I'm looking at the San Francisco 49ers. I wanted them to be a little bit higher, but you have a question mark and some slight but not real drama. I think it's a little bit overblown, but a little bit of controversy or somewhat. Jimmy Garoppolo's still there as your backup quarterback. Is that going to be an issue at all? How ready is Trey Lance to take over this team? Can Kyle Shanahan devise, a game plan week in and week out to help ease in Trey Lance's, first few games as the QB1 of the team, officially as the leader of the team? You know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about last year when he popped in here and there for playtime, but I'm talking he's coming in QB1. He is the leader. Can he devise a scheme and a game plan for Trey Lance to be effective? I really think he can. I really respect Kyle Shanahan as a coach. I think he's one of the brightest minds in the NFL, and I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that. But I have them at 10 mainly because the defense. I think the defense is one of the best in the league, and they definitely showed that in their playoff stint last year. I don't really doubt too much on the defensive side of the ball. My question mark really is just how does the quarterback spot fare? And Deebo Samuel, how does he fit in the offense? Because if the rumors are true, is he not going to be playing the running back position the way he was for a significant amount of snaps last year? Is he strictly going to be playing wide receiver? I'm curious to see how the offense molds with some of the things that went on this offseason. Coming in at number 9, and this one's probably going to get some heat from the AFC West. I'm going to go with the Raiders. Yes, they are below the Chargers and the Chiefs here, but I'm going to tell you why. And it's not because I doubt this roster. I think they put together an absolute unit of a team, and I think the roster is uber talented, and you can get some really good results from this group here. The biggest question mark for me is going to be Josh McDaniels. I do not forget how Josh McDaniels fared as a head coach in Denver 10 or some odd years ago. I know it's not the same team, completely different situation. He is far more tenured now. He has a lot more experience, and it sounds like he's learned a lot in those 10 years since. But again, I do not forget how Josh McDaniels' first head coaching tenure went. We will see how things shake out this time. I do think he has a far more talented roster, and I think he's probably going to get more done. But I have the Raiders where I have them strictly because I have to see it from Josh McDaniels. That is the only thing holding me back from really being all in on this team. Because roster-wise, the Raiders have one of the better rosters in the NFL right now. On paper, they are stacked up to the brim, and I'm here for it. I just got to see it from Josh McDaniels and how he does as a coach. Coming in at number 8, we have the LA Chargers. I expect them to continue to progress. Justin Herbert is he is an absolute beast at what he does, an arguable top 5 quarterback. He is certainly in the top 10 if you don't want to argue top 5. I think that another year in the system, with some of the additions they've added on the defensive side of the ball, offensive line should be getting better as well. No lack of talent in terms of skill on the offensive side with the wide receivers, the running backs. I mean, the only thing I would like to see is find Justin Herbert a tight end, like a legit guy, that a Hunter Henry-esque type of guy. This team is missing Hunter Henry, and if he was still there last year, I don't think the Chargers missed the playoffs. At number 7, we're looking at the Baltimore Ravens. This is a team I firmly believe in. I am a Lamar Jackson guy. I cannot stand that he's a running back playing quarterback narrative. The guy, in terms of just off-schedule throws, is fantastic. He's a playmaker. He is a game breaker, and he is a defensive coordinator's absolute worst nightmare because he'll beat you with his arm. He'll beat you with his legs. And Lamar Jackson is a top 5 quarterback and has a strong case for being so. He deserves every dollar that he has coming his way through this contract negotiation with the Ravens. I know he put the deadline as week 1. We're closing in on that deadline. I'm very curious to see if the Ravens get something done within the next... I haven't checked the news today. Maybe I've missed something. Probably not, but we'll see. But he deserves every penny coming his way. At number 6, we're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is doing his thing. I know they lost Tyreek Hill in the defense. We'll have to see how they fare this year. They were historically bad, then historically good last year, and then that kind of evened itself out. But I'm looking at the Chiefs offense as my only question mark is, can they supplement Tyreek Hill? And from the few drives we saw from the Kansas City Chiefs this preseason, I think they're going to be able to do just fine without Tyreek. At number 5, I'm looking at the Green Bay Packers. The defense should be very good this year. Eric Stokes basically made me eat my own foot. When he was drafted, I said I was not a fan of the pick. I had somebody comment on that video actually just a couple days ago and pointed out, and I was like, yeah, I know, I'm eating my words on that. So Eric Stokes has developed really nicely. You have obviously Rasul Douglas, Jair Alexander's back. You have a really good defensive front. The defense should just be really good overall. I expect a lot from the defense. Obviously, Davante Adams is gone. The ball is going to have to be spread out a lot more, and I think that might benefit this offense a little bit. I think one of the issues I had with Green Bay was you knew it was going to Davante when it mattered most, which kind of takes a little bit of the element of surprise away. Now you have the Packers, and a big question of when you're game planning for them defensively is, who is their go-to guy in those big situations? Is it going to be Randall Cobb? Is there a young guy that's developed really well that they're going to secretly deploy and be that guy on like third down? We'll see. At number 4, and this one, I debated them being a lot lower than this, but I have a hard time betting against him, and I don't really think it goes well for anyone. I have the Buccaneers. I know that people are concerned about Tom Brady and what's going on outside of football. We won't get into that. It's not my business, but I have a hard time betting against Tom Brady. I have a hard time betting against a motivated Tom Brady, and if this offseason has done anything but motivate him, I would be surprised. Buccaneers roster talent-wise is still really good on both sides of the ball. I don't want to bet against Brady. They've been a playoff contender since he's got there. He won the Super Bowl his first year. I'm just not going to bet against them. I like the Bucs at number 4. At number 3, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Love this team from top to bottom. The offensive line has been retooled. The defense came on so strong last year, and I think is underrated, and I think that they're one of the better units. They added some good pieces in the draft and through free agency all along that offensive line, man. This team should be better than last year, and that's ridiculous to think about. At number 2, and everyone, I know that people are probably wondering who's at 2 and who's at 1 because there's only 2 teams left. At number 2, I'm going against the grain here. Buffalo Bills. I love this Bills roster from top to bottom. It feels like they were just reloading going through the offseason. Obviously, the addition of Von Miller is awesome for that defense. I think it's going to help out Gregory Rousseau a lot on the opposite end pass rush. The offense is the offense. I want to see a running game, though, from this team. I don't want to see them rely on Josh Allen as much as they do. Obviously, in big spots, he's going to be your guy, but I want to see them have a run game that can support what is the monster passing game that they have. And I think that they've sorted that out this offseason. I just have to see it. But I like them at number 2. And then, of course, at number 1, we're sitting at the LA Rams. From top to bottom, this team is loaded with talent. They lost Von Miller and added Bobby Wagner. Do I think that's one and the same? Maybe not. They don't play the same position. They do different things, but Bobby Wagner is still a guy. He was in the running for leading the league in tackles last year. I mean, he might not be the spring chicken he was a few years ago, but he's still doing his thing, and I think he's still doing it at the top of his game as well. Or he's amongst the top guys still, without a doubt. You replace Odell Beckham with Allen Robinson, and it sounds like Odell Beckham is still within communication of the Rams, and it also sounds like he's been flirting with some other teams as well, but I could see him wanting to go back to LA just because I know the devastation he dealt through the Super Bowl, going down injured, untouched. Like, that has to be the worst thing possible for you, but I want to see him run it back, and I have a feeling he comes back to LA, and if that's the case, like, that puts the Rams right in the lead, clear without question. The defense is loaded, offense is loaded. I'm curious to see how this offensive line holds up this year and how the ground game looks with Cam Akers coming back and company. Obviously, Whitworth retired this offseason as well, so that's another thing to look at, but I think the Matthew Stafford elbow thing, a little bit overblown. I think it's just the Rams being cautious and making sure he was ready to go for week 1. I don't think it was anything that we should really be worried about going into the season. But that is my 32-team power ranking from bottom to top. We'll be doing this every single Tuesday. So if you made it to the end, I appreciate you all for watching. Let me know again in the comment section down below. What is your power rankings looking like right now? Do you agree with anyone on my list? Do you disagree with my list? What do you think about it? I would love to hear what you guys have to say. NFL picks are coming up tomorrow. I will see you guys next time. I appreciate you all for watching. Have a good one.